Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah with OutstandingPersonalRelationships.com. And in this video, this month the theme is spirituality. And I wanted to do a video about spirituality in times of crisis. We go through things and during this time, it's difficult in the world. There's so much going on. And we try to figure out our way and try to navigate through the negative. And I was thinking about it in my own life, and I said, what do I do when I have times of crisis? How do I connect with my spirituality? And as a Muslim, clearly, I try to have an elevated relationship with Allah, or I try to find a way to ground myself within that. And one of the first steps is finding out or identifying that you are in crisis, because oftentimes we don't recognize that we're in crisis. I want to share something with you that I've touched on before. I lost my sister in 2001 to childhood cancer. She had brain cancer. And I never had lost someone that I loved that was a child before. I lost my grandfather, yes, but I never lost someone that was a child. She got cancer when she was 9. She passed away when she was 13, and I watched her go through these peaks and valleys and this illness and losing her memory. This particular cancer, which is called a pineoblastoma, it pushed her brain to one side of her skull, and she began to lose control over her frontal lobe, her vision, things of that nature. She would repeat herself, and it was hard for me because I was much older than her. My father had children when he was very young, and then he had children after he had gotten older. So there was a significant gap between our ages. So I felt like I had helped raise her, because I did. When her parents weren't around, when my father and her mother weren't around, my grandmother and I, and the family stepped in to help her while they were in college and while they were going through their own chasing of their demons, I'll say. And I just felt like when I lost her, I didn't know what to do. I didn't realize that it was such a big crisis for me. As a Muslim, I was at her funeral, but I was in a separate area because she was Catholic, and I'm not Catholic, so the worshiping that they were doing, I was not involved in that, but I was involved in the emotional part of it, the service. I remember I didn't cry. I remember that I observed others being very emotional, but it took a while for me. There was a delay because I did expect her to pass because it was looking that way. She couldn't fight it anymore. It was just time for her to transition into the next steps and the next phase of exiting this life. So I knew that. I was very connected, and I understood that that had to happen. But I didn't realize I was in crisis. So I was at a local store with my grandmother, and I was shopping, and I was looking at this black shirt, and she said to me, she said, "Don't buy any more black clothes." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "You don't do anything but buy black clothes since Brittany passed away." Because my grandmother would go with me, and I think she knew I wasn't okay. But she would go with me, and she said, "Don't buy anything else black." She said, "Go home in your closet and look and see if all your clothes are black." My indoor clothes, not even the clothes I would wear outside, but the clothes I would wear in the house. So I went to my closet, and indeed, she was right. My clothes were mostly black. And I had replaced my colorful, more vibrant clothing with black clothes. The clothes that I would wear in the house around my family, whether it was a sundress in the summer or a beautiful sweater in the winter. Now, I am an artist, so sometimes I tend to wear my identity on the outside, and my family knew that. Our audience, our friends on the internet know that about me. So they could clearly identify that's not typical of me, and she was the one that really called it out. And I couldn't do anything but listen because the evidence was in my closet. And so I went on and I said, well, yeah, I am in crisis. I'm in a spiritual crisis because my sister passed away. And I knew she had to, but I didn't know how to handle that because she was a child. You know, it was easier with my grandfather because he was older. He was a drinker. So much made sense. But when she passed, I didn't know how to handle the death of someone I had raised that felt like one of my own children, because I cared for her so much, and my children were so close to her, and my husband was so close to her, and she loved him very much. So I didn't know that that crisis was happening in my life until somebody else, my grandmother, said that you have an issue with her passing away. And I'm sure my husband saw the same. He's very observant as well. And I had to go, you know what, Fatimah, you're in a crisis and you need to understand that it is serious because it is affecting you personally. It's affecting you as a wife. It is affecting you as a mother because your family sees it. Now you need to see and identify it. So that's the first step, is knowing that you're in a spiritual crisis. And one of the next steps is really connecting to that and knowing that it's okay and that it won't last forever if you take control of your future, if you take control of your daily routine, if you start implementing things within that routine that make you feel whole again. I had to reconnect with art. I had to really first and foremost reconnect with praying and salat, and knowing that I needed to ask the Creator for help. I needed to ask my family to give me more hugs. I needed to tell myself I had permission to feel that loss. I had to have permission to feel that I would get through it and be okay. Another time I was in spiritual crisis, and there's little times throughout my life where I knew I was. You know, the death of my grandfather, I was definitely in a spiritual crisis because I was a new convert, a revert to Islam. And I really didn't have the tools to connect with people that loved me, that wanted to help me. I didn't have the tools to connect with my religion, with my culture, because I was learning it. So that's another instance. These are powerful times in our lives, but it doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in a situation that is not healthy for us spiritually. So I had to help myself. So I had to understand I was in crisis and that I could help myself out of it, and I had to allow others to help me out of that. Whether it was a hug, whether it was reading more, whether it was getting involved heavily in personal development, having a daily routine that kept me accountable, observing my prayers, observing reading, observing connecting with people, or having lunch with friends, calling others. You know, those were things for me as someone that needed people around, as I'm an extrovert. Letting them be around, letting them be there for me. Going out of the house, connecting with nature. I had put myself in the house. I would not go out of the house. My house was dark when my sister passed away. I didn't like opening the blinds too much and letting the sun in. And then my family would open the blinds and let the sun in. So I had to understand that, okay, your sister passed away and you will get through it. Just as you got through your grandfather passing away. Just as I'm getting through polygyny. That's sometimes as an initial wife or as a co-wife, women tend to go, okay, this is a crisis for me. It does not have to be a crisis. It's something we feel inside. But we don't give ourselves permission, and you'll hear me repeat that, to be okay and say, I can get through this though. It doesn't have to stay like that. I can talk to people. I can reach out. and let people talk to me. I can make myself better if I have the tools to do so. I have to be willing to do my spiritual work in order to get through it. I have to be honest, have a true conversation with myself, tell myself I'm in crisis, tell myself what that crisis may be, what it means for me, and what will I gain by pulling myself out of that. It's important. Thoughts are things. Our brains are so powerful. So whatever we tell our brains, it'll listen. If we say we're not going to get out of it, I'm not going to try, I'm not going to do it, it's never going to happen for me, it won't. But if we tell ourselves, I'm going to get through this. It might not be easy. It might not be pretty, but I can do it. And you'll see these incredible things happening. You will see things change. So the spiritual crisis that we feel may not change overnight. But if we are willing to do the work, if we're giving ourselves permission to do the work, we can get through it. That doesn't mean it has to be perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you won't get perfection. But knowing that you're moving forward toward a goal, it's giving you purpose. It's giving you purpose. It's going to give you that drive that you need to succeed. And I had to learn that. And I love with, being involved in OPR, in this labor of love. We say, you know what? Things are not always pretty. Things have to be ugly, and then they become pretty, So thoughts being things is important. Self-talk is important. Self-care is important. Finding what your why and what keeps you going is important. Having a relationship with the Creator, especially, as a Muslim woman, was the most important thing for me, because I knew if that relationship was good and on good terms, and I was trying in all areas of my life, that those things would fall into place. But it's baby steps. Sometimes I get up in the morning and I say, well, I'm going to offer my prayers. I'm going to do my workout. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to start my day off with positivity. That doesn't mean you're not tired, but it does mean you're positive. Because a lot of spiritual, a lot about our spiritual routine is that we're having a focus on positivity, and we're trying our best. We're willing to do our best to feel our best. We're reading a good book 30 minutes a day about personal development and fulfillment. We're tuning in and being present with the people that we love and that love us back and that want us to win. It's important who's in our circle, who's in our circle of trust, who matters to us. Are we doing the things that we love to do as spiritual people? Are we creating a part of me getting through death, a part of me getting through life, outside of the daily things I do as a Muslim, is being a creative. So I must create art every single day. I must be working on a piece every single day. That's part of my therapy. That's part of my willingness to win, is making things beautiful. So if I'm focused on making things beautiful, I need to work on making me beautiful as well. So that's important. But spirituality in crisis does not mean the crisis will continue, but that spiritual work must continue. Because when the next crisis comes, and it will come, I'd rather be ready so that the blow is not so hard, so that I have the tools, so that there's something grounding me in my spirituality. That's a good start. It's baby steps, but they're steps nonetheless. So with that, I hope you got some gems from this video. Again, I'm Coach Fatimah of Outstanding Personal Relationships. Check us out at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. Join our RMIC which stands for Relationship Mastery Inner Circle, by visiting outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM for Relationship Mastery. And please join the people that are listening to the podcast that my co-wife and I created, called Candid Co-Wife Conversations, where you see all things through the eyes of co-wives, or we talk about all things through the eyes of co-wives. You might not see it, but that's what we talk about. I hope to see you all in the next video. And remember, give yourself permission to move forward, be okay, and think about that self-talk each and every day. I'll see you in the next one. Coach Fatimah. Peace.